I absolutely adore Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Because of this, I have played a lot of this game. But while I was on my quest to see everything this game had to offer, there seemed to be something missing. There was a clear setup, but no payoff, for a potentially interesting side quest about one of the most interesting characters in the entire game, Vandam. Now then, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a massive game, so it's to be expected that there would be a few inconsistencies and cut content, stuff like that. However, I was really looking forwards to learning more about this big, bold, courageous pompadour. If you don't know, Vandam has appeared as a recurring character in every main title in the Xenoblade Chronicles series, and even the mythical Xenosaga series. Man, I really need to find a way to play those games. It's kind of like Cid in the Final Fantasy series. In the first game of Xenoblade Chronicles, he was Colonel Vangar, the leader of the Colony 9 Defense Force. He was big, loud, and was better known as Square Tash.
Then I want 1,000,000 press-ups from both of you, and you better not stop until your biceps explode!
Then he made another appearance in Xenoblade Chronicles X as Commander Vandam, one of the heads of Blade. Then he reappeared in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as Vandam, but this time he was the leader of a mercenary group. But the sad thing is, Vandam isn't that important to the main story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. In order to elaborate more, I need to briefly sum up the contributions Vandam gave to the story in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now then, this is where I need to go into some spoiler territory, so all unhappy Rotbarts had better leave now. In the main story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the party is headed to the World Tree, but then the Artifice Ophion drives the group away from the World Tree. Then they get swallowed up by the Urian Titan and meet Vandam there. He fights Rex to see how strong the young driver is, and after having fun with their fight, he brings the group to Garfront Village. After giving Rex some advice about life and teaching Rex how to topple enemies with his anchor shot, plus one encounter with Torna, Vandam decides to help the group get to the World Tree. Vandam claims to know someone who could help them get to the World Tree. Vandam takes the group to Fonsamima, the capital of Uriah, and they are then introduced to Iona. Not exactly the best of characters, but she's still better than Juju. The group then goes to Myoma Playhouse, where a stage adaptation of the Aegis War from 500 years ago is being performed. And sadly, it's kind of vague and inaccurate to what happens in Torna the Golden Country. After the show is over, the group goes in the back to find the guy they were looking for. This is Cole. He was the one who put together that stage play about the Aegis War, but Cole isn't doing so well. He's practically coughing up his lungs, so the group decides to come back tomorrow to get whatever he was going to give them. That night, Torna shows up trying to find Pyra. They offer to help Cole with his condition, and when Cole refuses, his granddaughter steps up to see if these Tornan guys can help. Oh yeah, Iona is Cole's granddaughter. It's a small detail I forgot to mention before. Anyways, Iona gets captured, and she is then used as bait to lure Pyra into a trap. Then Pyra takes the bait, and the party needs to save her. But Torna is much stronger than the group thought they would be. Everything gets flipped on its head, and the group gets the snot kicked out of them. Since everyone is so helpless, Vandam steps up to save their necks. Despite how awesome Vandam is in this scene, Torna still gets the upper hand and Vandam gets killed. After a proper use of the Deus Ex Machina trope, the party survives except for Vandam and his Blade Rock. The next day, everyone mourns the passing of Vandam, and Vandam is buried at the site he died, in Olethro Ruins. Later that day, Cole gives Rex a dagger that belonged to a guy who might know how to get to the top of the World Tree, and sets them off on their journey once again. But before Rex goes, he asks Cole a favor. Rex asks if Cole would make a stage adaptation of Vandam's life. Cole agrees, and the party sets off on their journey. Cole begins to work on a stage play covering the life of Vandam. And that about sums up the contributions Vandam made in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And if you thought that some guy who gave Rex so much inspiration would have a lasting effect on the rest of the story, he really doesn't. After Vandam dies, the story kinda forgets about him for a while. His Blade Rock is awakened only because the group needs to clear this one ether miasma. After that, Rock never shows up again in the story. And it's almost as bad for Vandam because he only ever appears in flashbacks, and those flashbacks don't even happen that often. It's almost like the story forgot that Vandam existed, which is really sad because this version of Vandam was really interesting. However, there was a glimmer of hope that came from Iona of all people. You see, after climbing up most of the world tree, and after Amalthus is killed, oh yeah, there are more spoilers here, but after Amalthus dies, Iona comes to the party for help in her own side quest. You see, Cole is something called a flesh eater. A flesh eater is a blade that has been fused with human cells. This process will sometimes grant the transformed blade unique powers, however Cole isn't one of these. There were a lot of failures, and Cole appears to be one of these. His driver was Amalthus, and now that Amalthus is gone, Cole's health has become drastically worse. Iona then asks the main party to help Cole out, because at this rate, he won't be able to complete the life story of Vandam. There is just one problem with that. The civilization that specialized in flesh-eater technology is long gone. It was known as Judicium, and the continent they once occupied, Temperantia, has become a desolate wasteland. The only thing that remains of this civilization are the dangerous Titan weapons that lay under the surface. So going to the experts isn't an option, but there may be some hope for Cole. If they can find a really good human doctor, Mithra could help treat the blade side of Cole, while the doctor helps with the human side of him. So the search is now on for a secret cure. No, really, that's the name of the side quest. The side quest requires the player to go to Temperantia, find a doctor, get her to come back to Mor Ardain, get her the ingredients needed for the medicine, complete a merc mission for the medicine, and then finally get it to Cole. Yeah, it's a stupidly long side quest, but in the end, it's worth it. And in a few seconds, Cole is feeling way better. Man, I wish medicine in real life was that fast acting. Anyways, Cole is all better, and the quest is complete. However, there is some really interesting dialogue that these characters have after the side quest is complete. Cole and Iona talk as if the stage play for Vandam's life is almost done. They even talk about how they are contemplating how the performances would need to be presented. To me, this seemed like a setup for a future event, a possible side quest that focused on the stage adaptation of Vandam's life, and I was ecstatic for this possibility. We don't know that much about Vandam, or at least nowhere near as much as the other characters in the party. Seriously, compare how much we know about Vandam to what we know about Zeke. You would probably be able to tell me that he has notoriously bad luck that leads to him constantly being defeated by his own actions. Zeke also is of Tantalese nobility, and was ostracized from the royal line because he kept exploring the world instead of attending to his studies. You could also talk about how he was once stuck in Urian boot camp for a couple of weeks, his pet turtle, Turturs.
Turtles! Handling a man's turtle.
How he keeps coming up with silly nicknames for himself, and let us not forget his Eye of Shining Justice, which is covered by an eye patch. Zeke claims this eye patch holds back incredible power, but it's really just because he is so poor that he can't afford a second contact lens. And I haven't even gone through all the stuff there is to know about this guy. All the characters in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 have similar depth, but that isn't the case with Vandam. There are little hints scattered all around that show that there was more to this character than what we got to see. Apparently there is some stuff about his son who died of unspecified causes a long time ago. The game doesn't go into much detail. Not only that, but Vandam isn't even his real name. His real name is... Okay, I don't feel like mispronouncing that right now. The name Vandam was taken from someone he looked up to as a child. The game also briefly touches on how Cole and Vandam fought together in crazy battles in the past. So what can I say? I was really hoping that we would learn more about Vandam. And the other thing is, there are characters like Rock who want to learn more about Vandam. After Rock is awakened, Rock begins to become inquisitive about who his previous driver was. Sadly, Rock's desire to learn more about Vandam doesn't go anywhere, and leaves a lot to the imagination. So when I hear that the stage adaptation of Vandam's life is coming along smoothly, and that they are visiting backstage quite often, and how Cole and Iona have the resolve to finish the play, do you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like a stage play of Vandam's life that could potentially give us more information about the character, and in what sounds like a follow-up side quest to the one we just went through. Now then, this quest clearly couldn't be taken because there was no side quest indication above Cole's head. Quite often, these side quests will become available when certain prerequisites are met. Say, completing a certain story mission, completing a different side quest, raising the development of an area. There are even prerequisites that require talking to some NPC that for some reason will give you access to the side quest. Although that last one is more prevalent in Xenoblade Chronicles. The point still stands that there had to be some sort of prerequisite in order to experience the side quest, and I was going to find it. I then began to search high and low for everything that could activate this side quest. I raised the development of Uriah to level 5. I completed every single side quest I could find in the world. I even leveled the Merc level to level 5. During this time, I would constantly check in with Cole and Iona to see if they had anything new to tell me about their work. But for some reason, they never had any new dialogue. When the DLC side quests for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out, I carefully looked through the quest list to see if the side quest was added in the DLC, and scanned the Xenoblade wiki in order to find any hint of this side quest. But after all of that searching, and after digging up nothing, I finally realized that this side quest didn't exist. And you know, it's a real shame that's the case, because this side quest could have been amazing. Imagine if Cole finally finished the play about Vandam, revealing a whole bunch of interesting information about the character. Then he would have gone to Rex and told him the good news, that he finished writing the play and they could have a show in a very short time. Then Rex and the others would probably post advertisements all over the place, or maybe even have the Garfont mercenaries handle the marketing. But then, the advertising campaign works a little too well, and a massive crowd of people show up that they couldn't possibly fit into Cole's tiny theater. So they decide to go to Alethro Ruins to perform the play. Imagine if Rock had some sort of role in the story, making his own desire to learn more about Vandam fulfilled, and giving him a purpose after he was awakened. Imagine if we could learn about the battles and conflicts that Vandam needed to overcome in order to find a victory. Then, at the very end of the performance, the cast and crew could all come down and direct the audience's attention to Vandam's grave, saying something like, "Here lies the hero Vandam. May this hero's story be passed on and never forgotten." That would be such an awesome quest! It's a real shame that this didn't come to fruition. I mean, this game was setting this side quest up almost perfectly. Remember, Rex asked Cole to write the story of Vandam all the way back at the beginning of Chapter 4, and then the side quest A Secret Cure pretty much brought attention back to this one promise. And then, after all that build-up, there was practically no payoff with this quest. I kid you not, there are major story points in the main story that aren't foreshadowed as heavily as this. And it just makes me sad that we will never be able to see this quest in this game. Unless, of course, some sort of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Definitive Edition comes out and includes this quest, but what are the chances of that? But I'm also curious, are there any other setups that aren't paid off in the game Xenoblade Chronicles 2? I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. No, really, please tell me. And if you liked this video, feel free to like the video and subscribe. Anyways, have a nice day or night depending on what time you are watching this, and bye. Aquila Perronet. Wait, is that like French where it's the T is silent? Aquila Perronet, and now the T sounds better. Aquila Perronet Sol Estoril. Wait, no, Estoril? Estoril? Aquila Perronet Sol Estoril. Yeah, that sounds about right.